It all started with a text on a locked screen, just a few words about lace and wine, but it unraveled everything I thought I knew about love, marriage, and trust. I'm Harper Lewis, and what began as quiet betrayal became a storm of truth, vengeance, and healing. This isn't just a story of heartbreak. It's a story of confrontation, transformation, and the kind of freedom that only comes after standing in the fire. If you've ever loved someone who betrayed you, this story will feel like a mirror. I'm Harper Lewis, 34, and I live in Seattle, a city draped in mist and secrets, both atmospheric and personal. By day, I'm the chief financial officer of a high-end interior design firm. It's a career built on details, discretion, and precision. At night, I go home to Mason Lewis, my college sweetheart and husband of 6 years. We were once that couple everyone envied. The ones who finished each other's sentences, who shared long brunches at Capitol Hill cafes and road trip to small coastal towns just to watch the sea crash against rocks. I believed in our love like it was a fact of the universe, something unshakable. But the thing about foundations? They can crack long before anything collapses. ID started. Not with a fight, but a flicker. One morning, just as dawn filtered through our bathroom window, I saw Mason's phone light up on the sink beside mine. He was in the shower, humming some indie tune he picked up from Spotify, and I was brushing my teeth, already half in my mental checklist for the day. Then the screen lit up again. Can't wait for the weekend. The cabin, wine, and that pink lace set. I'm counting the hours. A chill spread down my arms. I didn't move for several seconds. Foam dissolved in my mouth as I stared at that screen. I didn't recognize the name. I didn't unlock the phone. I didn't need to. The message was bold, suggestive, real. Confirmation. Mason had been off for months. Late work nights, business trips that appeared from thin air, bringing his phone into the shower. Passwords changed. Warm glances turned into cold nods. But this was proof. Undeniable and uninvited. Behind the frosted glass, his silhouette moved under hot water, oblivious. I rinsed my mouth, washed my face, dried my hands. My heart didn't pound. My body didn't tremble. Instead, I felt this eerie detachment, like I'd stepped outside myself, like I was watching someone else's life collapse. I stepped out. He was tying his tie, still humming, still smiling. I have a client seminar in Portland this weekend, he said, not even blinking. Don't forget to pack a thick coat. It gets cold at night, I replied. He kissed my cheek. I let him. Then he left. That night, after his usual Thursday tennis and 2 glasses of Macallan, Mason collapsed into bed, snoring faintly. The scent of whiskey and his usual cedarwood shampoo hung in the air like a memory I didn't ask for. I waited until his breathing evened out. I reached for his phone, gently lifted his hand, pressed his right index finger to the sensor. Click. The screen lit up. Within 5 minutes, I found the full extent of it. Her name was Claire Donovan, not some 20-something with flirty emojis and mirror selfies. No, she was seasoned, a sales rep for a medical device company, married, 38, living in Tacoma. Her husband's name came up too, Tyler. A few messages said things like, Tyler's in San Jose all week, the cabin's all ours. I googled him. Tyler Donovan, architect, 41, specializing in high-end sustainable homes. His LinkedIn photo had a tired, kind smile. The sort of man who probably fixed his own porch light on weekends. I didn't sleep that night. Every lie Mason told replayed in my head. Every training in Portland. Every night I waited with dinner slowly going cold. Every glance at his laptop. That suddenly required a password. Every time I convinced myself I was being paranoid. The next morning, I sat in front of my computer, staring at a blinking cursor. Then I typed the message, deleted it, rewrote it 15 times. Finally, I hit send. Hi Tyler. This is Harper Lewis. I believe my husband Mason Lewis and your wife Claire Donovan are having an affair. If you're open to a conversation, I can share evidence. My number is 2655731. My palms were soaked. 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Is this some kind of joke? The voice asked. Deep. Strained. I wish it were. I said. I have texts. photos, even their weekend plans at your cabin near Lake Chelan. He was silent. Then, what do you want to do? Would you want to meet them there? Before they open the wine or take off their coats. Pause. A long one. Let's meet first, he said. Ellensburg, Saturday morning. I agreed. Saturday Ellensburg Cafe. The cafe was small, old-fashioned. Booths with chipped edges and the smell of fresh biscuits. I arrived early, sat in the corner, facing the parking lot. When Tyler walked in, I knew immediately. Tall, broad shoulders. That quiet heaviness some men carry after years of holding things together. He sat down. No smile, no small talk. Just eyes that looked like mine betrayed. I showed him the messages. He scrolled through them silently. Each swipe seemed to cut deeper. Then he froze at a photo Claire had sent to Mason. Her bare feet on a hardwood floor. That floor, he whispered. I designed it. I remember every board. He leaned back, closing his eyes. I thought she was distant because of stress. Now I know why. We spoke for nearly an hour. He had a spare key to the cabin. Claire didn't know. He offered it without hesitation. I'm supposed to be in Spokane this weekend, I said. Mason has no idea I'm even close. Let's get there early, Tyler said. No yelling, no fighting, just presence. Let them walk into the truth. And so we planned. Sunday Lake Chelan cabin 10 a.m. The cabin was warm pine and glass windows overlooking still water. The kind of place made for whispered promises and quiet betrayals. Tyler arrived first, coffee in hand, staring out at the lake. Did you sleep? He asked. Not really, I replied. We talked. The last time I had been in that cabin was 3 years ago. After a miscarriage, Mason held me in that very room and whispered that we'd try again, that we had time, that everything would be okay. Now, I was standing in the same room, preparing to confront the woman he brought here. We set the table with 4 wine glasses. Tyler retrieved a bottle of red Claire adored. I arranged the chairs facing the entrance. There was no trap, just an unveiling. A thick envelope sat on the table. Screenshots, printouts, a voice memo from Mason's assistant casually mentioning Mason didn't have any scheduled meetings in Portland. What do you think they'll do? I asked. Tyler shook his head. Claire will cry. Mason might yell, but he won't be ready for both of us to know everything. We sat. We waited. We talked about the Uber receipts, the missed holidays, the excuses, the empty beds. The second lives outside. The sky turned gray. 4:12 p.m. less than 2 hours. I whispered. Tyler looked at me. Are you scared? No, I said. I'm afraid I'll forgive something I shouldn't. He nodded. I'll remember that. 5:57 p.m. Tires crunched on gravel. A black SUV pulled up. Mason stepped out, gift bag in hand. Claire followed, holding tulips. They were laughing until they opened the door. Claire froze. Mason collided into her. Their smiles evaporated. Champagne fell. Glass shattered. Welcome to your weekend getaway, I said calmly. We've prepared wine, chairs, and the truth. Mason blinked. Claire's flowers hit the floor. Harper, this isn't what you think, no. I tilted my head. Tyler stood beside me. Claire, you said you were at a seminar. Claire fell silent. Mason stepped forward. I stepped back. I don't need explanations, I said. I just need you to see what you broke. And with that, I placed the envelope on the table. Sunday night passed like a dream dipped in venom, slow, stinging and surreal. As Tyler and I drove away from the cabin, the headlights slicing through the night, silence settled between us like the first snow of winter. Neither of us said much. What could we say? We had done what most people only fantasized about exposing the truth, confronting the betrayers, and walking away with our dignity intact. But clarity doesn't come instantly. It seeps in, like light creeping under a door. And as we pulled into separate directions at the fork near downtown Chelan, I realized the confrontation hadn't closed the chapter, it had only ripped it wide open. I drove in the dark, my thoughts racing as the rain began to fall lightly. A drizzle at first, then a steady rhythm that matched the throbbing behind my eyes. When I arrived at the motel, I sat in the parking lot for 15 minutes, staring out at nothing. My hands on the steering wheel were still clenched. It wasn't over. Not really. Not yet. The next morning, I returned to Seattle, back to my office. Back to being CFO Harper Lewis, the woman with answers, spreadsheets, and crisp suits. I gave myself no time to unravel. Not yet. But Mason knew I had been at the cabin. There was no way around that. He didn't come home that Sunday night. Or Monday. When he finally appeared on Tuesday evening, it was like watching a ghost walk through our front door. No words. Just a hollow expression and slumped shoulders. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't say a word. I've already moved half of your clothes to the guest room, I said. You'll find everything there. He nodded, wordlessly. I wished he had fought, cried, screamed, something to remind me of the man I had once married. But there was nothing left. 1 week later, he filed for divorce. My attorney, Grace Mendoza, was a woman of precision and calm rage. She reviewed the documents I had prepared in advance and nodded in approval. You've done most of the work already, she said. This will go quickly, especially since you have digital evidence, property ownership, financial records. If he's smart, he won't contest. Mason didn't. He texted once. I'll sign whatever you need. I'm sorry, Harper. I didn't respond. But emotions aren't linear. You can be powerful at noon and shattered by midnight. That Thursday, I sat alone in our walk-in closet, surrounded by hangers holding what once felt like armor. Dresses from galas, blazers from client meetings, casual knits from lazy Sunday mornings. And I cried, not because I missed him, but because I missed the idea of him, the man who used to make me French toast on my birthday, who read poetry in bed when I couldn't sleep, who once drove across town just to bring me my favorite lavender tea after a tough day. I grieved not for Mason, but for the Harper who had believed in him. Meanwhile, Tyler, he texted a few times. Hope you're holding up. Just saw the cabin again. Strange without ghosts in it. Claire moved back in with her sister. She says she needs space. I gave it. But I see her eyes when she talks to me. It's like she wants to confess every single thought and doesn't know how. I didn't ask for updates, but he gave them anyway, like dropping pebbles to let me know he was still walking nearby, even if at a distance. Then one day he called. I'm heading out of town for a project, he said. Coastal build in Oregon. But I wanted to tell you something before I go. What is it? I asked that day at the cabin. His voice was low, thoughtful. You didn't flinch once. You didn't shout. You didn't curse. You were powerful. And I just wanted to say I saw it. All of it. That night, I opened the folder again, not the legal one. The emotional one. The one I had kept locked in the back of my mind. I flipped through printed screenshots, text messages, timestamps. Then I took a lighter and burned them one by one over the kitchen sink. Let Mason keep his lies. I had no space left for them. 3 months later, divorce finalized quickly. My firm held a winter gala, and I attended in a deep emerald gown, alone, yet not lonely. People whispered. Some knew. Most pretended not to. I caught sight of Mason once, across the room. He looked thinner, distracted. He didn't approach me, just lifted a glass slightly and walked away. And that was the moment I felt it. Freedom. Not revenge. Not victory. Just the absence of heaviness. Tyler texted that night. Nora's due in 2 months. Claire's trying. She goes to therapy. We're not together, but we're not apart either. It's complicated. Hope you dance tonight. You deserve to, I responded. I danced, alone, and I didn't care who watched. Then he sent one more message. That's the strongest kind of dance. Spring arrived like a quiet exhale, softening the edges of winter and letting warmth slip into the corners of Seattle. My new life was still unfamiliar, like wearing someone else's coat, but it was starting to fit. Slowly, quietly, day by day, I had moved into a new apartment. Nothing extravagant, but filled with intentional choices. Eucalyptus sheets, soft amber lights, and a kitchen I actually wanted to cook in. I planted lavender in pots outside the window and started sleeping with the curtains open, letting the sun wake me instead of alarms. One Saturday morning in late April, I opened my inbox to an unexpected email. Subject: Your story, dear Harper. I don't know if you remember me, but we met briefly at the Morrison Gala 2 years ago. I was one of the panel speakers. I just read your recent piece in the Seattle Women's Financial Forum on post-divorce asset recovery. I'm reaching out because I think your story could really help other women. Would you consider being interviewed for a feature? Warm regards, Simone Park, features editor. Beacon Quarterly read the message 3 times before responding. A week later, Simone met me at a cafe in Capitol Hill, all smiles and soft scarf folds. She asked gentle questions, not just about the divorce but about the silence after it, about the rebuilding. Was there a moment when you knew you were going to be okay? She asked. I thought about it, then said, the night I burned the evidence. That's when I stopped carrying their story and started reclaiming mine. After the interview, I walked around the neighborhood. The scent of fresh bread, the hum of Saturday chatter, the neon signs flickering above indie bookstores, it reminded me I was still alive, not just surviving, but slowly, beautifully, coming back to life. When the article was published, I received over 200 messages. Women from all over the country wrote to say thank you. Some shared their own stories. Some just said, I see you. And then, one message stood out. Harper saw the article. I'm not surprised. You've always had a voice that could shatter ceilings. I hope you're truly happy now. Tyler, May 17th. Tyler and I hadn't spoken for weeks. Life had moved. Nora had been born. Claire was in therapy. Tyler was in full-time father mode. But when I saw his name on my screen again, I hesitated before answering. Hey, I said softly. Hi, I didn't call to burden you, he replied. But I'm in Seattle for the weekend. Nora's with my sister. I thought if you had time we could grab coffee. Just coffee. There was a pause. I'd like that, I replied. We met at a quiet waterfront cafe in Fremont, the kind where locals brought books and dogs. Tyler looked different, tired, but at peace. He held a paper bag. I brought you something. Inside was a small wooden music box, carved with waves and a compass. When I opened it, a soft tune played, a lullaby I didn't recognize. It's Nora's favorite, he said. She falls asleep to it every night. I smiled. Thank you. It's beautiful. We walked along the marina, not talking about the past, just sharing where we were now. Tyler told me about midnight feedings, Claire's progress, his design project in Portland. I told him about my new clients, my small community workshops, and the fact that I'd finally started writing again. He turned to me as we paused by the water. You know, I still think about that weekend, he said, not with anger, just clarity. It changed everything. It had to, I replied. We stood there, letting the breeze fill the silence. I'm glad we did it together, I added. I wouldn't have had the strength alone. You had it, he said. You just needed someone to reflect it back. Janeth Gala article went viral in niche circles. A podcast invited me to talk. A nonprofit asked me to lead a financial literacy workshop for women leaving toxic relationships. For the first time, I wasn't just rebuilding, I was reaching others. I called the program Ledger of Truth. At the end of one session, a young woman lingered. Can I ask something personal? She said. When you found out, how did you stop yourself from becoming bitter? I looked at her for a long moment. I didn't, I admitted. I was bitter. I was angry. I was hollowed out. But eventually, I realized those feelings were rooms I could pass through, not ones I had to live in. She nodded slowly. Later that night, Tyler texted, saw the Ledger event. Proud of you. I responded. Thanks. And Nora? He replied with a photo. Nora asleep on his chest, tiny hands curled, peaceful. Just like her mom says she'll be stubborn, though. I bet she will be, I wrote, like someone else I know. Late July, it was hot. One of those oppressive Seattle summers. I was sorting through old boxes when I found an old notebook, our wedding planning journal. My hands paused on the pages. Colors, menus, vows. I didn't cry. I smiled. Not because the memories were beautiful, but because I could finally see them without pain. They were a chapter, not the whole book. Tyler called that evening. Want to drive up to Port Townsend this weekend? He asked. I found an old house for sale. Thought you might want to see it. Has a sunroom perfect for writing. Are you thinking of moving? No. He laughed. Just thought maybe you might be. I hesitated. Maybe. Let me think about it. I wasn't ready to move again, but I was ready to dream. August rolled in like a warm breath across the Pacific, the kind of breeze that whispered promises through open windows and coaxed even the most reluctant hearts into softness. Life had found its rhythm again, a new rhythm, not one I inherited from my old marriage or borrowed from survival. It was mine. Tyler and I remained steady companions. We didn't label what we had, didn't need to. Some bonds, forged in fire, didn't require contracts or declarations. He was there. I was there. That was enough. And somehow, it was more than I ever thought possible. We began spending weekends together more regularly. Sometimes with Nora, sometimes just us. There was no urgency, no pressure, just a slow unfolding of something honest. One Friday evening, as we sat on the porch of his rental in Bainbridge Island, Tyler looked over at me and said, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd met before all the pain?" I considered the question for a long time. "I think we wouldn't have recognized each other," I said. "Not fully, not as we do now." He nodded, a soft smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe you're right. Maybe pain was the map that led us here." September ledger of truth grew. Word of mouth traveled faster than I ever anticipated. I started mentoring women one-on-one, helping them sort through financial ruins, emotional debris, and fractured identities. One woman, Alina, had spent 10 years in a psychologically manipulative marriage. After one of our sessions, she looked at me with eyes still wet from old tears and said, "You saved me." "No," I corrected gently. "You saved yourself." I just held the flashlight. October me. Therapist asked if I ever thought about dating again. I smiled, but didn't answer, because what I had with Tyler wasn't something to dissect. It was a balm, a warm cup of tea after a storm. He never asked for more than I could give, and I never demanded what he couldn't offer. We took Nora apple picking that fall. Watching Tyler carry her on his shoulders, I felt a quiet tug in my chest, not longing, but gratitude. For once, I didn't look at a family and feel like an outsider. I felt whole standing beside them. November's night before Thanksgiving. Mason emailed. Subject: closure. Harper, I've been following your work. Some of my colleagues forwarded the Beacon article. It's clear you've created something meaningful. I'm writing because I keep thinking about that last night at the cabin. You were so clear, so calm, and I was lost. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say thank you for ending it before I ruined you more. I hope you're truly happy now. I didn't reply, not out of bitterness, but because there was nothing left to say. I had closed that door, locked it, painted over it with the colors of my new life. December snow fell early that year. My cottage in Port Townsend looked like a scene from a postcard. White roofs, candlelight in windows, the smell of pine and cinnamon inside. Tyler came over with Nora on Christmas Eve. We baked cookies, built a snow woman, Nora insisted, and watched old holiday films. That night, after Nora had gone to bed in the guest room, Tyler sat beside me on the floor, near the fire. "I haven't said this out loud," he began, "but I think I love this version of life." I looked at him, heart full but cautious. "Even without labels?" "Especially without them," he said, "because for the first time, it's not about roles, it's about truth." I leaned into him, resting my head on his shoulder. "I think I love this version too." New Year's Day, watched a sunrise from my porch, wrapped in a thick wool blanket, a steaming mug of tea in hand. I had no resolutions, no grand declarations, just one quiet vow: to remain rooted in my truth. To remember that love is not about fixing someone or being fixed, but about witnessing. To keep choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion. February Econ Quarterly reached out again. This time, they wanted me to write a monthly column. I called it The Shoreline, within a place where emotions meet reason, where stories of heartbreak evolve into stories of power. My first piece ended with this: "Sometimes, the hardest part isn't walking away. It's believing you have the right to. But once you do, the shoreline will meet you, and you'll realize you were never drowning. You were being reborn." One spring afternoon, I received a letter from Claire. Handwritten Harper. I won't take up space with apologies, you already know them. I'm writing because I want you to know I've changed. Not perfectly, not quickly, but deeply. Nora is my mirror, and every day I work to become someone she can be proud of. Thank you for facing me that night. You didn't just confront me, you held a mirror up to the lies I was telling myself. I hope life is gentle with you now. Claire folded the letter carefully and placed it in my journal. The past wasn't something I carried anymore. It was something I honored, then released. The ocean still sang every morning. The lavender still bloomed. And I was still here, alive. And finally, free.